Sometimes we're asked about a state called Caucasian Albania and why it's on our maps of late antiquity. Indeed, before medieval Albania and the rise of Skanderbeg, there was another state with the same name in South Caucasus, with no connection to the Balkans. In this video, we'll talk about the history of Caucasian Albania and describe the role it played in the Roman-Parthian and Roman-Sassanid geopolitical struggle, as well as its participation in the early Muslim expansion.
Do you know why thousands of people on YouTube and Patreon support us financially? Because they get history you won't find anywhere else. We release 3 new exclusive videos every week. Plus they get perks like early access to all videos, voting rights on upcoming series and videos, access to our private Discord, our production schedule, and much more. Right now, 250 exclusive episodes are waiting for members and patrons, including from our series on the Eastern Front of World War II, Spanish War of Succession, the Punic Wars, the Pacific War, the Iberian Reconquista, the Russian Revolution and Civil War, the North African and Italian campaigns of World War II, Sicilian Wars between the Greeks and Carthaginians, and many others. By joining, you're not only unlocking rare content, you're also supporting the stories you love. Your help allows us to keep producing 3 free videos per week while paying our team competitive salaries and growing the channel. Join via the links in the description, the pinned comment, or by pressing the join button under the video. Thanks for making this possible.
The Caucasian Mountains and the Caucasus region was a geographical area defined in the ancient Greek perception as a harsh yet rich landscape, and was prominently mentioned in mythology. Prometheus was punished by the gods by being chained to the Caucasus Mountains for giving the secret of fire to the people. Jason and his Argonauts travelled to the region to get the Golden Fleece from Colchis. Amazons were mentioned as one of the tribes living in the mountains. Generally speaking, the Caucasus were imagined as some kind of edge of the known world by the ancient Greeks, with little credible historical description of the region. Historical sources of the late 1st millennium BC started mentioning Albanians as one of the groups populating the Caucasus. Albania is understood as a geographical region encompassing the area between the river Kura and the region now recognized as the Northern Caucasus. Thus, the geographical term Albania is relevant to the north of the modern state of Azerbaijan and southern parts of Dagestan of the Russian Federation. Depending on the period, the political term Albania at times was larger than its initial geographical understanding, covering the area south of the river Kura too. We will use the term Caucasian Albania, just like is done in modern historiography, merely for the purpose of avoiding any confusion with the state of Albania in the Balkans, with which it is not connected whatsoever. The Battle of Gaugamela in 331 BC is the first historical event in connection with which we find mention of the Albanians in the sources. According to this, the Albanians fought in the army of Darius III against Alexander the Great, under the command of Atrapetes, the satrap of the Achaemenid Empire of Media. This is an indication that Caucasian Albania, as a geographical unit, was under the heavy influence of the Achaemenid Empire, and archaeological excavations point out similarities in architectural styles. Direct mention of the Albanians appears in the 1st century BC in Plutarch's account of Lucullus's time in the Caucasus, and then Pompey's campaign in the east. The Roman sources mention the name of the specific Albanian king Arsacids, who had fought Pompey's army in 65 BC. The early interactions of the Romans and the Albanians are also proved by the Latin military inscription on the stone in Kobustan made during the times of Emperor Domitian by a Roman centurion, which is the easternmost evidence of Roman expansion. Strabo offers a more detailed description, portraying Caucasian Albania as a rich and fertile land, leading the population of the area to live a rather simple life. According to Strabo, Albanians had little knowledge of agriculture and did not use money at the time. Strabo also mentioned that Albanians were closer to nomadic stock, while being very different from other nomadic tribes. Strabo mentioned 26 local language groups, which each used to have their own rulers and had recently become united by a single king. This is an indicator that by the 1st century BC, Albania had already become a political unit. Strabo also wrote about the military strength of the Albanians, comparing it to their Iberian and Armenian neighbours. They fight, however, on foot and on horseback, both in light and in heavy armor, like the Armenians. They can send into the field a larger army than the Iberians, for they can equip 60,000 infantry and 22,000 horsemen. With such a force, they offered resistance to Pompey. The nomads also cooperate with them against foreigners, as they do with the Iberians on similar occasions. They use javelins and bows, wear breastplates, shields and coverings for the head, made of hides of wild animals, like the Iberians. Strabo does not mention any cities in Albania, and Pliny was the first historian to mention the capital of Albania, Kabalica, the modern-day Gabala, in the 1st century AD. Later, Ptolemy gave a list of 29 cities of Albania, including Gangara, Albana, Osika and Kamakia. It appears that in the 1st century AD, Albania was under the heavy influence of Rome. In 36 AD, following an unsuccessful rebellion against Roman rule, Albania was incorporated into the Roman Empire as a protectorate. But while for Rome Albania was a very remote periphery, it was Parthia's immediate neighbourhood, which it sought to bring under control. During the 1st century AD, Albania was under the cultural and commercial influence of their southern neighbours, proved by Parthian coins being widely used in Albania. It was the period when the branches of the Parthian Arsacid dynasty started ruling in Caucasian states. In 12 AD, Armenia started being ruled by the Arsacids, and in 189 AD, they took power in Iberia. The exact date of the start of the rule of the Arsacid dynasty in Caucasian Albania is disputed, and the course of events leading to the rise of the Arsacid dynasty in Caucasian Albania is not entirely clear. By then, another power was rising in Persia, as the Sassanid dynasty had defeated the Parthians. In the 3rd century AD, the Sassanian Shah Shapur I occupied and annexed Albania, Armenia and Iberia. Shapur's trilingual inscription at Naxirostam clearly identified Albania as within the realm of the newly consolidated Sassanian Empire. The strengthening of the Sassanian Empire in the east was inevitably going to lead to another conflict with the Romans. The Romans defeated the Sassanids in the 296–299 Roman-Sassanid War soundly, following which the Treaty of Nisibis was signed. According to the treaty, Armenia was transferred to the Roman Empire, Iberia became a Roman protectorate, while Albania remained within the Sassanian Empire. It is plausible that while the Sassanids were recovering from their defeat, the Romans might have used the power vacuum in the region to install a friendly Arsacid king in Albania, just like the Arsacid dynasty representatives in Armenia and Iberia, who were essentially Roman proxies. The 4th century was notable for the increased official recognition of Christianity in the world. In 313, the Roman Emperor Constantine legalized Christianity in the empire, and 10 years later adopted it as an official religion of the empire. Sometime in the early 4th century, the Arsacid king of Armenia, Tudat III, officially adopted Christianity, having been converted by St. Gregory the Illuminator. According to historian Moses Kalan-Katueki, later in the 4th century, the then king of Albania, Urnayr, travelled to Armenia with his dignitaries to get baptized by St. Gregory. But even before that, Christianity had already been gradually spreading in Albania. The exact degree of dependency of Albania from the Sassanid Empire can be disputed. In the 330s, Sassanids were striving to stake their claim on the Caucasus again, and they intervened in the struggle of two candidates for the Armenian throne after the death of King Tudat III, with the aim of installing another Arsacid named Sanatruk on the Armenian throne. Despite formerly being a Sassanid subject, the king of Caucasian Albania of the time, Vacagan, adopted a position similar to the position of Rome and Armenia. Along with the Albanian defense against the Sassanids in this episode, the arrival of the Bishop of Albania and Iberia, Gregoris, St. Gregory's grandson, for the purpose of taking steps toward institutionalization of the church in Albania and his construction of a church in the Albanian city of Kri and appointment of priests there, caused Sassanid wrath. This caused a Sassanid-supported uprising in the Albanian city of Kri against the Albanian king, and consequently led to the resubmission of the Albanian king to the Sassanids. While the Albanian king supported the Roman position, there were also pro-Sassanid elements in the Albanian nobility, a feature which was common for all three countries of the Caucasus. Later steps were taken to establish close dynastic ties between the Albanian Arsacids and the Sassanids, as the Albanian king Urnayr was married to the daughter of the Sassanid Shah Shapur II, which was probably the start of very close dynastic relations between the Arsacid Albanian royal family and the Sassanid family, as marriage between these two dynasties became a common occurrence. The Roman domination of the Caucasus was short-lived, as Shapur II would challenge the Romans in the mid-4th century. The sources demonstrate that Albanians were strongly integrated into the Sassanian army in connection with the siege of Amida of 359. Close by Shapur II on the left went Grimbates, king of the Chionite, a man of moderate strength it is true, and with shriveled limbs, but of certain greatness of mind and distinguished by the glory of many victories. On the right was the king of the Albani, of equal rank, high in honour. The above-mentioned king was probably Urnayr, who despite converting to Christianity, was heavily involved in the Roman-Sassanid wars on the Sassanid side, as sources mention the Caucasian Albanian army commanded by him participating in the Battle of Zirav of 371, probably with an interest of adding Armenian-controlled territories in the Caucasus to Albania. Eventually, the Romans were mostly ousted from the Caucasus, as the Sassanids were able to get the upper hand throughout the wars between the two empires in the 4th century. The Peace of Aquilini was signed either in 387 or 384, as Iberia returned to Sassanid control, while Armenia was divided between the two empires. Albania remained within the Sassanid Empire, and the entire right bank of the Kura River up to the Aras River was transferred to Albania. Probably from then onwards, Albania's degree of independence within the Sassanid Empire was on the gradual decrease. While the Albanian king was a vassal of the Sassanid Shahanshah, the Shahanshah would also appoint a Mazban, a governor, who had the ultimate political, legal, financial and religious authority in Albania. Mazban's seat was in Pator, also known as Pirozabad, following the reconstruction of the city by the Albanian king Vacagan in accordance with the orders of the Shahanshah. It was a major commercial and artistic hub of the region all the way until the Varangian raid on it in the 10th century. Initially, the Sassanids did not view Christianity as a threat, but the gradual spread of Christianity in the empire, along with the Roman claim of being the guardian of all Christians in the world, including the Sassanid Empire, changed this. The Sassanian Shahanshah was concerned that his Christian subjects' loyalty was to their fellow Christian Romans. In 449, this culminated in Yazdegerd II using a proclamation obliging all of the empire's Christian citizens to convert to Zoroastrianism. Albanians, Armenians and Iberians took up arms against the Sasanian Empire, and in 451, the decisive battle on the plains of Avareia, the modern-day northwestern edge of Iran, took place. The Christian Caucasian coalition was defeated, and one of the direct consequences of this defeat was a conversion of the Albanian king Vacagan II to Zoroastrianism. But as soon as Peros I took the Sassanid throne in 459, Vacagan reverted back to Christianity and opened the Darband Pass to the Massagette tribes and attacked the Sassanid army. In response, Peros I let the White Huns through the Darial Pass into Albania, leading to the devastation of the country. After almost 3 years of destructive conflict, Peros I offered peace. Vacagan II was to remain Christian, while accepting to hand over his mother, who was the sister of Peros, and his wife to the Sassanid court. After that, Vacagan II withdrew from the world, and Caucasian Albania remained without a king for almost 3 decades. Only after that, the Sassanian Shahanshah Balazs decided to reinstate an Arsacid Albanian on the Albanian throne. Balazs was more tolerant towards Christianity, and the Nvarsak peace treaty between Balazs and the Armenian rebels in a way legalized Christianity in the empire once again, which allowed Vacagan III and the Caucasian Albanian Christians to practice their religion more freely. Vacagan III the Pious, son of Yazdegerd and brother of Vacagan II, became the last Arsacid ruler of Albania. He was known for his zealotry and waged war against Zoroastrianism and paganism in his realm, and initiated the Albanian Church Council sometime between 484 and 488, which resulted in a 21-paragraph codex on the structure of the church in Albania, its legal status, and relationship with the state. This can be accepted as the period of establishment of the autocephalous Albanian Christian Church. We don't know how exactly the reign of the last Arsacid Albanian king, Vacagan III, came to an end, but it happened at the beginning of the 6th century. A Syriac historian of the 6th century, Zacharias Rhetor, describes the siege of Amida by the Sassanids, the capture of the city in January 503, and the pleading of the Christian prince of the country of Albania to spare the people. This person is undoubtedly Vacagan III, and the described event might have been a rebellion or some other anti-Sassanid action of Vacagan III the Pious. Movses Kalankatuaki narrates an event which might have been the end of the Arsacid dynasty in Albania. According to him, Vardan the Brave of the Mihranids dynasty, the cadet branch of the Sassanids, beheaded 60 Albanian nobles at a feast, paving the way for the rise of the Mihranids as the most powerful dynasty of Albania. The Mihranids assumed the title of Aran Shah, the Shah of Aran, Albania. It is assumed that for more or less the century after the end of the Arsacid dynasty in Albania, the country was ruled directly by the Sassanid Mazbans. This was a century when Albania and the rest of the Caucasus became a ground of battle between three mighty empires, the Byzantine, the Sassanids, and the Khazars. The Christian nobility of Albania sought support from the Byzantines as their fellow Christians. In 575, an Albanian delegation visited Emperor Justinian II in Constantinople, asking him to incorporate Albania into the Byzantine Empire, but this proposal was rejected, as Justinian II wanted them to remain under Sassanid rule. The next notable information regarding Albania was narrated by Movses Kalankatuaki. According to him, in the early 7th century, Albanian noblemen rebelled against Sassanid rule, but it was defeated, and rebellious noblemen, including the Albanian Catholicos Viroi, were held captive for 25 years at the Sassanid court. In 627, the Khazars invaded Albania and summoned the Mazban Semavastenis and the Catholicos Viroi to the Khazar camp, established in Uti. The Catholicos accepted the summon, and it seems that he ended up establishing good relations with the Khazars. But by 629, the Sassanids were able to oust the Khazars and re-establish their control over Albania. It seems that at the time, Catholicos Viroi was the most influential figure in Albania, due to either good relations he established with the Sassanids during his captivity in the court, or simply due to his authority as the leader of the church in Albania. Whatever the reason, the Catholicos was behind the effective establishment of the rule of the Mihranids dynasty in Albania after bestowing the title of Prince of Albania on Varas Grigor around the same period of time. This was either accepted or ordered by the Sassanid court. Less than a decade later, he was deposed by the Sassanids in favor of Javanshir, whose name meant young lion in Persian, and who had been the Shahinshah's ward in Ctesiphon and commander of the Albanian military units in the Sassanid army. Historians note Javanshir's important role in the Arab-Sassanid War during the Battle of Qadisiyah and Siege of Ctesiphon, during which he helped to evacuate Shahinshah Yazdegerd III from the city. But before the final Battle of Nahavand in 642, Javanshir understood the futility of resistance against the Arab Caliphate and returned to Albania, where he sought the protection of the Byzantine Empire, which bestowed the title of Patricios to Javanshir, and recognized him as the ruler of his country. But this was more or less in vain, as the Arab Caliphate had been able to establish control over the Caucasus by the 650s, with Javanshir accepting their suzerainty. Following his death at the hands of rival Albanian noblemen in the 680s, Albania largely ceased to exist as a polity, as it was incorporated into the Umayyad Caliphate as a single province together with Armenia. This gradually led to a weakening of Christianity and the spread of Islam into the Caucasus, particularly in the plains of modern-day Azerbaijan. More videos on ancient civilizations are on the way, so make sure you are subscribed and have pressed the bell button to see them. Please consider liking, commenting and sharing, it helps immensely. Our videos would be impossible without our kind patrons and YouTube channel members, whose ranks you can join via the links in the description to know our schedule, get early access to our videos, access our Discord, and much more. This is the Kings and Generals channel, and we will catch you on the next one.